Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk about Murchison Minerals. We're focused in north central Saskatchewan. We'll be making some forecasts, so just read quickly. First of all, we own the Mckenzie Vms Deposit, and of course, where you have one VMS deposit, they tend to occur in clusters, and we hope to find a lot more. The deposit currently has a resource of about 9.7 million tons. It comes right to surface. It's located very close to a road. It's 100% owned. There are no royalties, and we own a large land position, 324 square kilometers. Recently completed an airborne, identified well over 30 very strong EM with matching mag targets. Excellent infrastructure, power, manpower. There's a small community where we stay, where we rent some houses. We also have a nickel, cobalt, copper project in Quebec, which is also 100% owned. Currently, the stock is, like everybody else, is depressed. That's trading about 8 cents, 44.7 million shares out, so we have a lot of leverage. Current market cap is 3.8 million Canadian. So if you just divide the tons, or the market cap by the tons in the Mckenzie deposit, you're paying 39 cents per ton of resource that contains $260 Canadian of metal in the ground. Overall, again, Mckenzie, no royalties, 100% owned, large land position, and nickel, cobalt in Quebec. Looking at the location, you can see from the satellite photo, the community of Brabant Lake. The project is located approximately 35 kilometers northwest of the CB mine of SSR. Also very close to the Jolu gold mine. And when you see a bit to the bottom, at the lower on the slide, the Flin Flon area and then the Lynn Lake area, they're relatively close, a couple of 100 kilometers from us. And I like to say that we landed in Flin Flon in 1920, and we own it all, and we'll discover all of these deposits to come. Property itself has a strike length of about 38 linear kilometers. As you'll see, there's a big power line that transects the property. It's a 357 kV line that goes to all the uranium mines. The provincial road, Highway 102, is the main road to go to all of the uranium mines as well. So fantastic infrastructure. And then we can walk literally from the deposit to the village of Brabant Lake. So the Mckenzie deposit has a strike length of 1,000 meters. It comes right to surface. It dips at 51 degrees to the northwest. We've drilled it down dip to 1,000 meters, and it's open laterally as well, and still at depth. So great infrastructure. We believe we'll be able to add the tons and also increase the grade by doing more infill drilling. So there are two zones, upper and lower zones, both averaging of about 6 meters each. So for each vertical meter going down on the ore body, you'll be able to mine about 12 meters of massive sulfides. The core is the ore is very coarse, so it will make for a very easy flotation. It contains pyrrhotite, some pyrite, sphalerite, chalcopyrite, and a little bit of galena, some silver, and a little bit of gold. So that's just the slide to denote the domains indicated and inferred. There are some holes in there. There are areas that just haven't been drilled yet. So this is a breakdown of the resource classification. As you can see, the indicated resource totals 2.1 million tons with a zinc equivalent of 9.98%. The inferred 7.6 million tons has a zinc equivalent of 6.29%, but again, we believe that with some infill drilling, that grade will go up. These slides show the upper zone and the other side, the lower zone. So it's kind of a sandwich approach. What you see here is kind of triangle-based or figured, and it's strictly a matter of where the drilling was done in the past. So the ore body remains open. There's nothing that indicates that the mineralization is truncated. So moving to the really exciting part, as far as I'm concerned, is we completed that airborne survey in December and January of this year. Covered 1,150 linear kilometers of VTEM with mag. As you can see, there are a number of very strong mag signatures with distinct bodies. It's well over 30 of them. So that airborne has covered approximately 50% of the current land holding. And so another aspect that you can see here, while the land is fairly hilly, surprisingly, there are very, very few outcrops. There's, the whole area is covered by 1 to 2 feet of soil and obviously forest. And so how do you see what's underlying rock when you're prospecting? So we've sourced 2 instruments called the Beep Mat from Quebec. And so basically it looks like a toboggan that you drag behind yourself. It contains, or it holds a magnetic detector and an EM detector, and will read down anything that's magnetic or a conductor down to about 2 meters. So so as soon as the instrument beeps, you dig out your shovel and start digging and pick up these samples. So I have a crew of 6 geologists moving to the property, to a project next Monday. The reason for waiting for so long is that we had to wait for the ice to go on the lake. Nearly done. And so we systematically want to cover all of these anomalies. So coming back to the point that VMS deposits tend to come in clusters, and you look at the VMS camps around the world, they're all roughly 25 to 30 kilometers in diameter. Our land package is, or at least the area that's been flown, is 25 kilometers long, and we have a whole slew of very interesting targets to look at. So I'd like to think that we have a new VMS camp, and exploration will tell very shortly. We started modeling in 3D magnetics with all of the data from that survey. This is just a few of them. We've done about 15 of these modeling of these conductors. Still have another 15 to go. And as you can see, there's a very good correlation between the conductor plate and the distinct high mag signatures. So each and every one of them has the potential of being a sulfide deposit. And the next question is going to be, well, what kind of sulfides do you have in there? Is it all pyrite or pyrrhotite, or do you have some copper and zinc and lead and silver and gold? On this slide here, that's on the left-hand side, it shows the airborne. You can see the Brabbit Mckenzie in a yellow circle. There are 2 parallel conductors just to the east. They'd be modeled just like the Mckenzie deposit. As you can see, there's very good correlation between the magnetic signature and the EM plates. The conductivity of these plates is very similar to the Mckenzie deposit. And again, this is the other one. Those are big targets. They have never been explored as far as we know, never been drilled. So we intend to kick the tires very quickly, very shortly on those. One particular target of a really high interest is called Tom-2. This was discovered in an earlier airborne survey, 2011, and then we did ground EM work last October. Tom-2 is on the bottom left corner. It's an extremely strong conductivity, 5,700 Siemens. The one next to it, T2, is at 4,400 Siemens. Those are clearly not graphite. They have to be sulfide, we need to drill it. Another good target is the main lake. It's a bit to the south of Tom-2. Last October, we found some massive sphalerite, disseminated sulfides, including chalcopyrite, and some pretty good grades were found, up to 1.4% copper, and I think the zinc went up to 11.6%. So we will be focusing on that. On top of the plateau on the left-hand side, you'll see there's 6 or 7 strong conductors. Again, we will be going over that with that beep map instrument and try to find what kind of mineralization we have over there before we start drilling. Going a bit to the east on the property, on the shore of Brabbit Lake, there's a big magnetic body. It's at a place we call McIver Channel. It's 1.8 kilometers long as a body. The area was stripped in the past, but never drilled. And as you can see, that big Gossan feature. But again, it's pretty exciting. We've seen some chalcopyrite. Again, we will be doing some detailed sampling there. Coming back to the west side of the package, basically on the same horizon that hosts the Mckenzie Deposit, we find this area called Brabbit South. There's a hodgepodge of all conductors, different orientations, very strong signatures. Again, that's an area that's going to be a focus this coming summer. So those are just a lot of details. It may seem to be repetitive, but they're all different, very distinct and big bodies. The Murtac showing was explored in 1970. It's never been. It was drilled, very shallow drilling, but they only tested one of the conductors. So again, just more of these conductors. There's lots to look at and lots to drill. Geochem is another tool that we plan on using. There were some government surveys for lake sediment sampling. A couple of anomalous areas were identified. Again, we'll be looking at those this summer. And quickly on the HPM project in Quebec, it's got a similar mineralization and geological environment to Voisey's Bay. It was drilled last time in 2008. It was a 50-50 joint venture with Pure Nickel. We bought out Pure Nickel's interest last February. We now own 100%. So one of the best hole on the property is 43 meters of 1.74% nickel, 0.9% copper, and 0.9% cobalt. So there's really good potential there. We have 100%. Potentially, that could be a saleable asset for us and a way to finance. We intend to raise a bit of money and hopefully do some drilling this coming fall. And just quickly on where's our stock trading at compared to our peers. I did a comparison with 13 peers. And so for each dollar that you invest in Murchison Minerals, you have $663 of metal Canadian in the ground. So that's over a 600 to 1 leverage. And if we find one more ore body, then obviously there's going to be a lot of upside. The stock is basically, relative to its peers, is trading at about a quarter of the value, everything else being equal. And that's it. Thank you.